Welcome to the series, You Are Loved. My goal is to share people's incredible stories in the hopes of encouraging you to keep going, no matter how hard it is, and to show you how loved you are by your Heavenly Father. This week, I have the honor of sharing with you Willie's story. Willie began using prescription drugs in the 8th grade, and before long, he was using whatever he could get his hands on to chase that high. This led to him going to jail several times. One day, right before a court hearing, he contacted a drug rehabilitation program, not because he really wanted to fix his life, but because he really wanted to stay out of jail. Through a supernatural turn of events, he was accepted into the program. He walked in on Friday, got saved on Sunday, and was set free on Monday. You have to hear this incredible story. Tell me a little bit about yourself.
Well, I'm Willie Leonard. I live in Tellico Plains, Tennessee. I am the co-founder of Valor House and 517 Ministries. I started, I started using drugs when I was probably in about 8th grade. I grew up in a family where, it was back when prescription pills had just, Oxycontin and all that stuff had just hit the scene. And, everybody in my family, my grandmother, my mom, my uncles, everybody had pills. So I just started, and they were laying around everywhere, and just out of curiosity, one day I started taking my mom's Xanaxes, and then that kind of led me down the road of that. By the time I graduated high school, I was a full-blown addict. I was huffing paint, taking acid, drinking pills, just anything I could get my hands on by the time I graduated high school. When I was 24, when I was 22, I discovered meth, and then that's when my life of crime started. I started, shoplifting from stores to get, pseudoephedrine and things like that. I started breaking into cars. I did a lot of jail time.
Okay.
And then in 2006, I found Jesus.
Yeah, tell me.
That's when everything changed.
Tell me about that.
Yeah, okay. I went into a program on Friday, I got saved on Sunday, and God set me free on Monday. That's kind of the thing, how I always say it. And I was just trying to stay out of jail. I wasn't seeking Jesus, I was miserable in my life, but I thought, from how I was raised in a junkyard, so, we were middle class, but we were perceived kind of poor from the community. So I kind of just felt like that was my lot, my lot in life. And before all of this, I came down to that Friday, and that Monday I had to go to court. But before that, I had to do like 30 days of public service, like picking up trash. Right? But that was where God started working in my life before I even knew Him. They instead of putting me on the trash crew, they put me with this gentleman, and I'm from Sevier County, so they do Winterfest, so they hang the Christmas lights up, the big snowflakes and everything, all the way down Highway 66. So instead of putting me on the trash crew, they put me with that guy. So for 30 days, I drove around with him every day, putting up Christmas lights on poles, and and every day he would witness to me. Every day he would tell me about Jesus, and we would drive by. We would drive by this store, and he would say, "Hey, that's the thrift store that my church runs, and they have a faith-based rehab." He goes, "You might want to check it out one day." And he'd be like, "Yeah, this is my church. You might, So for 30 days, he was just witnessing to me and telling me about this place. So I got done with that, and I just went back to doing what I was doing, just getting high, and I caught another charge, and so that's when it come down to either for like a last-ditch effort. I drove by that store one day, and I looked over, and I went, and I didn't think, oh man, that could be the place that changes my life. I thought that could be the place that gets me out of jail.
Yeah.
So I called him, and I called him up, and I said, "Hey," I said, I need help, And with the guy on the phone, he said, "Well," he goes, we'll take you, but it'll be about a month before we can get you in, because there's 11 guys on the waiting list ahead of you."
Wow.
So at that moment, I hung up the phone, and I was like, "Well, that's it. I'm going." That was my last shot. So I went out that night, and I got drugs, I got high, and I came. So I woke up that next morning, and I was about to do the rest of the, what I had from the night before to get rid of my sick, and the phone rang, and it was the guy from that program, and he said, "Hey man," he goes, I don't know what it was about you yesterday, but he said the Holy Spirit I just couldn't shake you. He said, so I went to my director, and I went to, the executive director and the program director over the program, and he's like, "Man, I don't know what it is about this guy, but he's like, we got to help him. We got to get him into the program." And they were like, "Sure." Okay. That was my first introduction to Pastor Jeremy Graham.
Wow.
Yeah. And so he called me back, and he said, "Man," he goes, "this is what I did." He goes, "I went to my directors, and we're going to jump you all the way up to the top of the waiting list, and you can come in today." Right? And this was on Friday. So I said, "All right, man." So I got my stuff together, I went into the program on Friday. That Sunday we went to church. I'd like to say that, I had some big holy, just some big conversion or something, but I was just sitting there going through the motions. And at the end of the service, the pastor, he gave an altar call. Does anybody want to come to salvation? And just really just to say, I was like, "God, I don't understand this. I don't know what's going on. And I want these people to think that I'm really trying, So I went up front. The elder of the church prayed for me, and I went back to the house. So when I got up, so then Monday rolls around. Then I get up, I had to be at court at 9 to get my counselor. We drive down to the courthouse, and back then, in Sevier County, and I don't do it like that no more, but they would go down the alphabet. And you knew, and I knew from being in there before, like if they skipped your name, you're in trouble.
Okay.
So the judge is going down, and he's reading, he's sending people to jail just left and right. And I look over my counselor, I was like, "Man, I'm going to jail." And he's just like, "Just trust God, brother, just trust God." And I'm like, I don't even, like, really, so they get down to my name, and he skips me. And he keeps going, and I looked over at him, and I was like, I'm done. Because my PO's sitting over here, she's already told me I'm going to jail for 2 years. And so he gets down, and it gets down to about me and three or four other people in the courtroom, and he finally calls my name, and I go up there, and he looks at me, he's looking at my stuff, and he looks back up, he does this, he's looking over it, and he says, "Mr. Leonard," he goes, "I don't know why I'm doing this today." That's his exact words. He said, "I don't know why I'm doing this, but you're going to leave here today a free man." He said, I'm waiving all your fines, all your fees. I'm letting you off probation." He said, "When you leave here today, you'll be completely out of the system." Wow. And so I walked into that courtroom just stunned, like I was free, like God set me free. Wow. And I hadn't done anything to deserve that.
Yeah.
And that's when I had that. That's the moment I had when I knew God was real. And that if He was going to do that for me, after all the dirty stuff, the awful, terrible stuff that I did, crimes and things I did to my family, then I was going to give Him a real shot. And I decided that day that's the day I was going to serve the Lord for the rest of my life.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That's amazing. Because you could have run right back into drugs. But
I could have, yeah. I mean, I could have
being set free, like the judge.
Yeah, I could have left the program, because he told me, he goes, "You go and finish that program," and he goes, "If I ever see you in here again, basically I'll throw you under the jail." But I left, and I was like, wow. I was like,
You knew it was God.
I was new.
Amazing.
That was when, God told me, He was like, that's the day He told me, like I knew there was more for me.
Yes.
Than just what I was living.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
So yeah, I went into a program on Friday, I got saved on Sunday, and God set me free on Monday.
Wow.
Yeah.
So tell me what year was that?
That was 2006.
2006. Okay. Mm-hmm. So it's been 18 years. Mm-hmm. What's happened in your life since then?
Wow, 18 years. It's been a lot of. It's not all been unicorns and rainbows and butterflies. Right. I've had some ups and downs. There were some relapses but the whole time, even through the relapses, I stayed with the Lord and continued to grow as a man of God. And today, I'm in full-time ministry. I've been in full-time ministry most of those 18 years. Today I have my own ministry. We have Valor House. We have, we just opened up, but we have, about 10 guys now that are, And I just want to give them a safe, holistic place to come and find Jesus and be able to receive what I got and to be able to be set free and let God set them free like he set me free.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So that's Valor House.
That's Valor House.
And you have 517 Ministries.
And 517 Ministries. So 517 Ministries is that's their, I guess, the ministry. I don't really know how to, but underneath that umbrella, I guess, then we have Teleco Plains CR, and then we have Recovery in the Park, which is like CR type meetings that we do in the parks in Monroe County during the summer. We just finished up our 4th year doing that, and it's been really successful and just a huge blessing. And then we have Valor House, which we just started, me and my wife. So
it's amazing.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
So this should be an easy question for you because you're surrounded by people who are experiencing brokenness and being lost and just being trapped in the world, and you were there yourself for so long. Like, what is the thing that you could say to them? Anyone watching?
Yeah.
Or maybe it's just something that you make sure the people around you who are in brokenness when they come into Valor House, maybe that they need to know that will help them overcome the trauma and the trials that they've been through.
I think my answer to that question would be no matter the ups or the downs, no matter, where life takes you, or no matter where, no matter if you make bad choices or not, if you are faithful and consistent in the Lord, then God things will happen in your life. There will be miracles that happen in your life if you just continue to be faithful and consistent, because our mistakes don't define us.
That's right.
Unless we allow them to. What defines us is how we get back up and keep fighting.
That's good.
And that's what I tell my guys. I tell my guys all the time. I tell people all the time when I go into the jails in Monroe County. I tell the guys, I was like, look, if you make a decision in your life and then you are faithful and consistent with this, and you can faithful and consistent in the Word, faithful and consistent in prayer, then God will begin to change your life, and there'll be God things that happen in your life, and most of the times God things are supernatural miracles. Yes. So there's no matter how small, sometimes we miss the small miracles because we're looking for the big miracles.
Right.
But, the fact that I'm sitting here right now, it's a miracle.
Yes. Yeah. And I bet you get to see those supernatural miracles happening every day. Yeah. It's so
and
awesome.
that's what drives me. It's what it's what I'm passionate about. It's what I live for. It's what God created me for. Was this that day He set me free in 2006? He knew that this was who He created me to be.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So one last question. We always end these interviews talking about the word love, because I think that the world we live in has a very confused understanding of what love means and what it looks like and what it feels like. And so we just throw that word around everywhere. And so what did love look like to you before 2006 when you were living in the world, and how does it look different to you today?
Love back then was something that I didn't deserve. That's how I saw love. I didn't deserve it from my family. I didn't deserve it from a female. I didn't deserve it. Love was something that I didn't deserve, because I wasn't enough. I wasn't good enough.
Okay.
Today, love is something that I freely receive. That I just sit back and I let God give me what He gives us all freely, and that's His unconditional agape. And just receive it. And then with that, when receiving that comes that peace that we have that surpasses all understanding. Yes. Even when trials come and the storms come, if our house is built on that love and just receiving that love, then there's nothing that can shake that.
That's good.
Because it's a free gift.
Yes.
Amen.
I super appreciate you being willing to share your story. Yeah. I love that story about you being set free. I've never heard that exactly, that happening to someone exactly like that before. That's just amazing. And just the transformation in your life, and that you're leading people that just like you, out of that brokenness. And so that's awesome. So thank you for being willing to share your story.
Thank you for the opportunity. It's an honor.
Don't you just love Willie's story? It's amazing how God stepped into his life in such a radical way. Plus, his advice was so powerful. He said, even in the ups and downs, if you continue to trust God, God things will happen in your life, because your mistakes don't define you. It's how you get back up and keep fighting. Friends, if you are struggling, I hope you keep fighting. Willie talked about being one of the founders of 517 Ministries in their newest project, Valor House. This is a 12-month faith-based residential addiction recovery home. It's located in Tellico Plains, Tennessee. Valor House was created to assist people battling substance use disorder as they overcome things like addiction, incarceration, homelessness, domestic violence, and other life-challenging situations. While at Valor House, residents receive vocational rehabilitation, relapse prevention education, and professional counseling in a holistic and therapeutic environment. I encourage you to check out their website to see how they can help you, or if this is important to you, to see how you can help them. Join us next week to hear another encouraging story, and be sure to subscribe or follow so you never miss an episode. Most importantly, I pray you know that no matter how far you or someone you love have run from God, it is never too late. There is always hope because you are loved.